Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Broku, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball video. Today I want to talk about Dragon Ball GT and a potential remastered version of it or a brand new iteration of it. So, recently there's been an interview with some of the creators of Dragon Ball Super, and one of the creators said that the way that Toriyama is writing the end of Dragon Ball Super makes it seem like he is setting it up for future stories to be possible. Now, there are a lot of different possibilities for there to be future Dragon Ball shows, but the one that I want the most is a Dragon Ball GT Redux. Now, what I kind of mean by that is, so Dragon Ball GT, as it stands, does not fit with Dragon Ball Super. They're different continuities. What I would want them to do is essentially go through, remake GT, remaster the animation, because animation now looks way better than it did back when GT was made, but also change the story a bit. Now make it so that if GT happened, but with everybody has God Key, introduce Beerus, the multiple universes, Jiren hit, I think that would make GT a lot better. GT already has a lot of amazing villains and really cool story arcs and cool ideas. With Baby being one of the coolest villains ever, and the Shadow Dragons probably being the best bet for an ending series villain. Now they could actually just go by the Black Star Dragon Ball, the Baby Saga, the Super 17 Saga, and the Shadow Dragon Saga, and they could go through and put little arcs and sagas in between, extend them, or just only take a few of them and then make brand new stuff. But I think it'd be really cool, and I kind of went and wrote some stuff down, trying to think of how they could do this. And so first off, the Black Star Dragon Ball, it's terrible. I think it's almost universally agreed on that it's the worst saga in GT, and usually people think it's the worst ever, and I'd agree with that, as I did a ranking video and I put that as my least favorite. But they don't have to take that out. They could keep that in there, make it so Goku actually does get turned into a kid, but what they should do is make it so Goku actually loses his powers, so it makes it, make sense of why he was reverted back to a kid. And instead of just being at Goku, Trunks, and Pan going to get the Black Star Dragon Balls to save Earth, make sure that Goten and Oob actually join as well. Oob would be really cool to see. He was very badly portrayed in Dragon Ball GT. He should have been this extremely strong guy, but he wasn't. He was extremely weak, and I don't think they gave his character justice. And with Toriyama behind this, he could actually give Majub or Oob his justice. And if you have Oob, Goten, Trunks, and Pan go with Kid Goku to get the Dragon Balls, that would give them around a year where Goku actually is still training them, because as a kid, let's say he still remembers all of his teachings, he just loses his power, so he's teaching them everything, but it's up to them to defeat the villains, because Goku's too weak because he got reverted to a kid once again. And I think they could make it a lot less cringy, take out the Power Brothers.
Bone para para, bone papa. Shake. Don't forget to smile. Don't forget to smile. What? Now shake it, right. Bone para para, bone para para, bone para para, bone para para. Respect the beat.
They have no style.
Spin it right, spin it left. This crazy beat gonna make you deaf. Shake it, now shake it.
Add in actual villains. They can still make it funny and comedic, but not the way that GT did it. And what I would think would be really cool is that Goten and Trunks have their friendly relationship, Pan and Oob have their friendly relationship, but Oob and Goten have a rivalry because Goku spent the last some odd years training Oob instead of seeing Goten. Goten was kind of, didn't get to see his dad very, very much, and he probably wouldn't like that, and probably Goten never got to finish his training with Goku, so that would be the rivalry. And then Pan and Trunks could have a rivalry of who's the smartest, because Trunks is really smart because he's Bulma's son, and then Pan is could be very smart because she is Gohan's daughter. And you could do it so meanwhile back on Earth, Vegeta goes to see the Universe 6 Saiyans, meets the King, and is training with Kappa. Of course, that is pendant on if the Universe 6 does survive, or if some of the characters do get wished into different universes. This really depends on how, the Dragon Ball Super is going to end. And if Vegeta is gone away from Earth, that could leave Gohan and the other Z fighters to actually face against an issue. So you could have a two-pronged thing where you have Goku and a bunch of characters go off to get the Dragon Balls. Vegeta goes to meet the Universe 6 Saiyans, and then it's just Gohan and the Z fighters, and maybe some sort of villain comes, and that'd be really cool to see Gohan be the defender of Earth in that. the transformations in this. You can make Mastered Ultra Instinct go into the base form, since it is kind of like, you know, dodging and shit, you know, moving without thinking. And then that could actually bring in the amazing looking Super Saiyan 4, bring back their tails, and I would love that, because I think Super Saiyan 4 is the best and most unique looking Super Saiyan transformation. Now when it comes to the Baby Saga, with Goku back at full power, because I think what they could do, and what they should have done after the Black Star Dragon Ball, is make Goku an adult again. Either make it so that when you collect the Black Star Dragon Balls, it just reverted the wish, or he could have went to Namek and use the Namek Dragon Balls and became an adult again. And I think it would have been cool to have Baby Vegeta. So what happens is Baby, in the process of chasing down Goku, Goten, Oob, and Trunks and Pan, he runs into Vegeta and the Universe 6 Saiyans, and, you know, he starts taking over the Saiyans one by one, eventually takes over Vegeta, and that leads to an army of baby Saiyans, including Baby Vegeta, and that's when they come to Earth. And that would be cool, because then you'd have Goku who just became an adult again, with the people he'd just been training for a year, and they take on all of the Saiyans, all of the baby controlled Saiyans. That would be awesome. And Baby Vegeta was an amazing villain. They could still do that, and it would be really cool, especially because it'd be Goku and Vegeta. And even though it is essentially like an evil Vegeta, they can make a lot of jokes about Goku Black, and I think that'd be really funny. Now when it comes to the next arc, Super 17 would actually be ungodly strong because of how strong Android 17 is in Dragon Ball Super. As we know, he is a Super Saiyan Blue level fighter, and if he fused with another Android 17, an Android 17 that could also absorb people's energy, that is going to be extremely OP, and they could actually heavily extend this saga, because this is only an 8-episode saga when it came out, and they could easily make it so that either maybe Cell comes back, and they can make it so that we think that Cell is going to absorb Super 17, and Cell is going to be the main villain, just like what happened in the actual Cell saga. But it'd be really cool if they made it so that 17 actually overpowered Cell, killed Cell, like absorbed his powers, and then Super 17 still became the main bad guy. Or they could do a Dragon Ball Heroes where he absorbs 18 or fuses with 18, and then that would be really cool. And again, like I said, they could do sagas or arcs in between each of these. They could do mini sagas or full sagas in between. This doesn't have to even go in order. And they get, you know, we get more stuff on the Pride Troopers and Jiren. We could get Hit, all of these things. This could be so cool and so well done if they did a Dragon Ball GT Redux. And then finally is the Shadow Dragons. So I do believe Shadow Dragons are a perfect final villain. You know, they've been using the Dragon Balls from the beginning of Dragon Ball to now the end of Dragon Ball GT, and all the times they've been abused leads to all this negative energy. You know, it makes sense because the Dragon Balls were not meant to be used very often, because it would take forever to gather all 7, and then you'd have a year, and they literally spread around the entire planet. But because of Bulma getting the Dragon Radar, that made it so they could be easily spammed, and so that all of their past actions provide future consequences. And with there being 7 dragons, it could really be cool to have Jiren join in the fight against the Shadow Dragons, Hit, the Universe 6 Saiyans like Kaba, maybe even the Trio to Dangers. They all join in because it is the Shadow Dragons coming in. Or what they could do is make it so that the Super Shenron from the Super Dragon Balls, the same thing happens, because now the Super Dragon Balls that were barely used before have been essentially getting spammed, and that makes us a much more credible threat of these Super Dragon Balls, because it should be theoretically much stronger dragons. Now, what I'm going to say is that all of this would be cool to see maybe a different version of Super Saiyan 4, how Toriyama maybe would do a GT Redux, or even Toyotaro if they gave him the reins. And I think that they can make GT a much, much better show than what it was, especially when you incorporate all of the God Ki, incorporate Beerus and Whis and the other Gods of Destruction. I mean, like I said, they could incorporate other sagas in here where maybe after the Baby Saga, Goku and Vegeta go to a different universe, like universes 1, 5, 8, and 12 that are exempt from the Tournament of Power. I think that would be amazing, but I think the best way to end it would be the Shadow Dragons, or would be another great arc is we get to see Goku and Vegeta actually fight Beerus, which is what we all want to see in Super, but we know we're not going to see it, so it would be perfect to do in this. But again, so I'm going to say why it's not likely that we're going to get a Dragon Ball GT Redux, and that is because Dragon Ball GT did not do well. Even if people are told that Toriyama's doing it, if they're incorporating Super into it, people are probably not going to want to watch it as much. And even though the villains were great, if they bring back the old villains, people are going to be like, why are you bringing them back? That's just like copying. It's already been done before. We want new stuff. And so why would Toriyama want to be involved in something that is not even his? Now Dragon Ball is his, but Dragon Ball GT, he only gave some loose ideas for and some character designs for. It is not really his creation. So it's like, why would he get involved in the first place to recreate it when he could create something on his own without having to use GT? So overall, I would want a GT Redux, but I don't think it's going to happen. This is just my ideas. I actually really do like GT, and I do think incorporating Super into it and changing things around and kind of making it better than what it should have been, making it more like Dragon Ball Super. What GT kind of was combining Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and it did not work, especially in the first saga. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below. Would you want a Dragon Ball GT Redux, or would you want a brand new show? Now, of course, I would take anything. I would take a brand new show, but I think it'd be really cool to see Dragon Ball GT Redux. But let me know your thoughts down below, and please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. And please turn on notifications to see all my videos in the future. I just want to give a big shout out to Mark of the Rebellion for creating this thumbnail. This guy makes really good thumbnails and really good art, so please be sure to go subscribe to him. That'll be linked in the description. And also support this man on Patreon. His Patreon will also be linked in the description down below. Thanks, Mart. I love the thumbnail. And thanks to all my Patreon supporters, Zach Rotaku and Hodag Hunter. Those are my Super Saiyans. Thanks to my Super Saiyan 2s, Darius, Israel Flores, Dutch Gamer Monkey, Connor Trigg, Locke, Gerald Herbert, Anime Paradox, Griffin Jacob, and Mystic Ghoul. And thanks to my Super Saiyan 3s, Scotland Serenity, Daraj Payton, Sin Overlord 17, Badass Thug, and the really awesome dude that only supports Broku on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for all the support on my Patreon. It really does mean a lot, and it really does help me out. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.